can we talk a little bit about the legacy of Waterworld? Because so many people think of it, especially of a certain generation. Kids nowadays, unless they look it up, they weren't, in this. It wasn't in the zeitgeist of them growing up, like it was with me, like it was with you, that we knew Waterworld, but it was considered a flop. Like I remember when Ishtar, like nobody remembers Ishtar, but I remember Ishtar being like the punchline, and Heaven's Gate is a legendary punchline, and Titanic, by the way, just a couple years later, took the throne as like, this is gonna suck. This is a complete disaster. This is not going to make any money whatsoever. It's 200 million plus. Who's this James Cameron think he is? Well, that worked out okay for James. But what is the legacy of the actual numbers of the film? Because it was considered a flop, but the truth is different.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, the 25th anniversary, everyone is writing the story, which is, Waterworld was so not a flop. In fact, I'll go on the record saying that Waterworld is one of the most profitable titles in the Universal catalog. And it all comes from the theme park exploitation. So what happened, a couple years after the film came out was Universal Studios Hollywood had this Miami Vice stunt show, which was, They had a water tank and, it was boats and stuff. And they were like, no one's going to this stunt show. No one's going. Who cares about Miami Vice? We got to reinvent this or, upgrade it. And we're like, Waterworld, let's do Waterworld. So they suddenly created a Waterworld show. That show has been running at that park for, 25 minus 2 years. So
yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it a ton of times. I love that part. I love that show.
Arena seats 2,500 people, and they have a dozen shows a day. And park is open before COVID was 365 days a year. So you can do the math there. That's tens upon tens upon tens of millions, if not 100 million in that theme park. Then they opened one in Osaka and Singapore. And now they're opening one 2021, supposedly, let's see what happens, in Beijing. And in the Beijing Universal theme park, there's a Waterworld zone. Okay, it has its own zone.
It's a land, like a land,
like Jurassic, like Transformers, like Harry Potter. Movies that have had franchises that have had 7, 8 titles in them. Get their zones, and then Waterworld gets a zone. Why is that? It's because the demand, the interest, the fascination with Waterworld has no limits, and also because it's a splash zone or whatever. It's a fun zone for.
It's a good brand. It's a good brand. It's a good IP for Universal.
It's a fantastic brand. I'm still getting the residual checks. And if you do the math on 4 theme parks, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of people have been exposed to this Waterworld idea. Now, the great thing about that is that the Writers Guild, right after that theme park was open, approached me and David Toohey, the 2 credited writers, and said, you know what? No writer has ever been paid for a theme park exploitation of their work, but we think that we have a chance to argue that this constitutes a exploitation of the dramatic stage rights, which is one of those separated rights that a writer retains in a Writers Guild contract. So we're saying that the the Waterworld stunt show is basically a staged version of the show, a 20-minute version. It's verbatim dialogue. It's the same characters. It's the same story. And, the Universal threw a ton of money and a ton of lawyers to fight us. Fight. And the smoking gun moment, this was brilliant, was we got a transcript of their, of the stunt show or whatever, verbatim line transcript. And there was this block of dialogue, like 3 or 4 sentences in, I think, the deacon, the bad guy had the speech or whatever. It wasn't in our final scripts. It wasn't in any of the final movies, but it actually, that verbatim 3 sentences, paragraph of dialogue appeared in a script that wasn't used. So they had gone through the whole stack of scripts and they had cherry-picked stuff. It was proof that they were using our writing in their show. And at that point, the arbitrator found in our favor, and we got a huge settlement, and we established a precedent. So from now on, Writers Guild writers are paid a minimum for the theme park exploitation of their work.
So the Simpsons creators, the E.T. writer, the Fast and Furious writers, all those guys get something now from all those rights.
Yeah.